That's good.
All right. Very, very good.
Oh, my God.
Very nice. Well, someday you got to learn two of us.
Yeah, two of us, yeah.
Yes, we will. That
We
for
were
next
just
year.
talking about it, weren't we, on the way up? That'd be the ideal one.
Yeah, we were talking about like a later years one that you could do on the acoustic. And
Oh, yeah.
so what about two of us? But we don't really know, but we'll learn it for next time. And then we
Yeah.
came in and you said that.
Funny.
Yeah.
You know, as I understand, the latter, I chronologically, I get things mixed up now. I'm getting older. But the latter part of the Beatles, I think around the Let It Be sessions, part of the idea was that they wanted to do music that they could perform live.
Yeah.
Because for a number of years, they did some stuff they really couldn't recreate on stage.
So, yeah, I think they wanted to go back to the way it originally was and get out there.
It's the Let It Be album. It's the Get Back sessions, really, isn't it? Where
Is it the Get
all
Back sessions?
Let's just strip away all the
Ah.
orchestras and things, and and then they did go up on the roof and play that stuff live.
They were talking about finding somewhere to do a big show, and they were talking about things like cruise ships and the desert and places just really way out there, and just
and
to
then
get
the
out
likes
there
of
and do
Pink
live
Floyd
shows.
actually went and
Went and
did
done
some
the
of those
Pompeii.
things. Then played in Pompeii. And
All right, you're right. And David just went back to Pompeii.
Yeah.
And performed there this time with an audience.
Yeah.
He didn't have one last time.
That's right.
Wow, that's great. Great. Well, let's go ahead and talk with Julia a bit. Oh, yeah, and one other thing. Part of your gig
Yeah.
is you get to meet super fans of the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, we are super fans ourselves.
And you're super fans yourself.
It's easy for us, yeah.
All right.
We love to do that.
Because sometimes when you meet people that are so impassioned,
Yeah.
it just drives you even further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
It's like looking in a mirror for me because I'm just crazy about the Beatles, so
Yeah.
it's easy, yeah.
That's great. And how old are you?
Oh, I'm old enough to know better.
Okay.
But not old enough for Elvis,
Oh,
the
yeah.
real king of rock and roll.
That's correct. And Elvis has got his own Cirque du Soleil thing going on
Oh, really?
in Las Vegas.
Well, he always copied off the Beatles.
That's very. Did you? Elvis wore those outrageous outfits because he always had to be on the cutting edge,
Yeah.
and that was part of his persona. He did not want to be left in the past. So, have you played Memphis?
Yes.
Yeah, we
have, yeah.
Memphis.
Did you go to Graceland?
I did, yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
It's a spine-chilling experience. It's like a timepiece stuck where Elvis left it, you know.
Oh,
It's an
exactly.
incredible experience.
I can
And
you can smell those peanut butter and and Nana fried sandwiches.
But an even more spine-chilling experience is the Sun Records.
Oh.
They've now
Yeah.
opened
God.
a visitor centre, and it's like it's the only thing I can compare the Cavern with around the world. It's like going into some musical history.
It's genuine,
place,
isn't it?
and it's there.
Absolutely.
Oh my
The original,
God!
yeah.
You're talking Jerry Lee Lewis,
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Cash,
Johnny Cash,
great rock and roll.
Carl Perkins.
Yeah, I was just going to say him. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Matchbox. That's how Ringo started off his show at the Follinger Theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
was with
We do
Matchbox.
Honey Don't. We do the Carl Perkins one. Ringo sings Honey Don't.
Oh, really?
In our show, yeah.
Oh, good. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to Julia here. Julia, last time you were here, I think I had asked you about every question that I could think of, but I'll tell you, one of the most fascinating stories that you told was I believe it was a Christmas show with the Beatles, and then the Stones were in the wings.
Yes, that's right. It was in Christmas 1963 at the Finsbury Park, an area of London, Astoria, which is where even now a lot of people go and play. It's not huge. It's a bit like the Embassy. It's not one of the colossal Super Bowl type places, but it was the biggest concert to that time that my sister and I had been to see. Yeah.
And why don't you, could you tell that story again here for us?
Well, John had just bought a house. John and Cynthia had just bought a house. They actually didn't leave Liverpool until 1963, October 1963. So John was 23 when he actually left home, so to speak, which a lot of people who had a brother, they'd gone already. Brothers and sisters had gone to university in different towns, and they were working different places, whereas John was still based at home. But Brian Epstein insisted that they move to London because that's where everything was, the contracts, the music, everything. George was the last to go, actually. He was still going up and down from Liverpool to London on the train way after the others had moved to London. He just didn't want to leave home.
How far of a distance was that?
Man, it's 200 miles, and of course in those days trains took 4 or 5 hours to get there. It's an hour and a half now, but it was a lot. It was a day's journey to get there, if you like. Anyway, John and Cynthia moved with Julian, and they rented a place for a couple of months, and then they bought this house. A couple of weeks, then they bought the house. And we knew that he'd made it. We knew he was a millionaire because the house cost £20,000.
Wow.
Which was, unheard of money. I don't know how much that would be now. That was in 1963, £20,000. I'm sure Mark could work it out or something. But he was a millionaire to us.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately he wanted Jackie and I to go and see the house. So that's how we were in London. So we'd seen him in the kitchen, on lorries, in village halls, in church halls, in the Empire, everything in the Empire. And then we went to London, and they were doing this Christmas show. So Jackie and I went along with John and Cynthia. The house at the time had no kitchen in it. The garden was just a big hole with diggers. There was nothing. He just said, "You've got to come now and see the house before we even start it." So it was all exciting. It was like a building site. And we went to the concert, and we've been to everything at the Liverpool Empire, which is our big theatre where everybody comes. We've seen Chuck Berry, Little Richard, we've seen everybody there. So that's where the Beatles played. And we thought they'd made it already by going to the Empire. And the first 4 rows were empty. Nobody in. So we're in the dressing room with the Rolling Stones. And I thought, this is like amazing, because I'm a huge, huge Stones fan, always have been. And it was just like, it was mind-blowing for Jackie and I, my sister and I. Absolutely mind-blowing. We were drinking Coca-Cola, and I thought the boys were drinking Coca-Cola. It turns out it was laced with whiskey, which I hadn't realised. And then they were called to go to the stage, and John said, come on, girls, come on. And we went with him. So they go on the stage, the curtain's still down, and I'm looking through at the audience because it's all sort of noisy out there and expecting, waiting for the Beatles. And there's these 4 rows empty, and I said, well, we want to sit there. And John said, no, you can't. You've got to watch from the wings. I said, no, we want to, because in the Empire we had seats. We want to sit there. No. And I nagged him that much in a couple of seconds. He, all right then. So we jumped off the stage, got round the curtain, jumped off the stage, and went and sat in the second row. So there's a row in front of us. Then Jackie and I are on the end, on the second row, and 2 rows behind, empty. Well, we could see just about their feet as the curtain's coming up, and it was just like all hell let loose. The screaming started right away, and we'd heard it in Liverpool, and I'd sort of forgotten. We'd only seen them just recently, weeks before, in Liverpool, and it was just like madness. But worse than that, they just ran from the back. They just ran right down to the front, and security appeared. We hadn't seen security. I don't think they had any in the Empire, actually. I don't think they certainly didn't have guards. And Jackie and I were just didn't know what was going on. We were almost crushed, really and truly. The whole theatre just migrated in a flash to the front. And John's doing She Loves You, which he hated singing, by the way. Just thought I'd put that in. And he's doing his bouncing up and down, which Mark has got brilliantly. He's got the stance. He's just taken it on. When he puts the wig on and does that, he's so good at it. So he's doing this. And he just looks down and says, get the girls. and we were hauled from over on our stomachs back to where John had told us to stand in the first place. And because he couldn't resist it, he looked sideways down the microphone and says, "I told you so." But really and truly, the story of when they were at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, I don't know to this day if it's true, maybe somebody out there will, that they didn't actually sing, that they just mouthed the words because the screaming was so intense. I have heard that they didn't actually produce a sound. I don't know if it's true. Somebody will.
Oh. They couldn't hear themselves, I know that.
On that stage, it was on that stage that they said, "That's it. No more. This is the last time we will do this." And they retired to the studio. And then, of course, all the complicated stuff came out because they could bring in all the brass bands, the violins, the cellos, and everything else. It got complicated when they went back into the studio.
Now, you'll also have your book available.
I do. Yes,
correct?
I will.
The show. Tell us about that.
Well, as we mentioned before, after John died in 1980, and I would never have done a book. I'm a teacher. And then I went and topped up and became an educational psychologist. I spent the last 15 years of my career running my own unit. Fabulous job, absolutely wonderful job. I had no intention of writing a book. I'm not a writer. I love words, but, I'm not a writer. But in 1985, the BBC, which is like your CNN, serious stuff, made a documentary about John. And my children, I had 2 teenagers then and a younger child, and the 2 teenagers are just a year apart. We want to watch the documentary, it's on tonight. And I said, everyone in school will have watched it. And I thought, right, you're right, they've got to go to school tomorrow. Everyone will have seen it. I can't say to the children, you're not watching it. In those days, you could tell teenagers whether they could watch telly or not. They had to ask me. So put the babe to bed, and we sat down at, I don't know what time, 9, 10 o'clock, I don't know what time it was now, to watch it. And I cried from beginning to end. It was so wrong. Cynthia had dark hair and a headscarf on, like she was some sort of fishwife down the market. I mean, that was the intention, to make her a cheap Scouse woman. I know that was the intention. She was utterly beautiful right until she died. She had the cheekbones, she had almond eyes. She was always blonde because John had wanted her to go blonde. When we first met her, she wasn't blonde. Bridget Bardot, he liked Juliette Greco and Bridget Bardot. We had huge pictures of both of those, one dark, for whichever mood he was in. And both Dot, Paul's girlfriend, and Cynthia both went blonde at the request of John and Paul. But even when she had dark hair, she was not this woman that was on the screen. I was devastated. I was thinking, poor Cynthia, with this headscarf on, tied under her chin. Only the Queen gets away with that. Anyway, and then Julian wasn't even mentioned. Not there, not even mentioned. It went straight to Yoko. I was just like, of course we weren't mentioned. I took my sister and I, who had lived with John till he was 23. So a bit of airbrushing there. So the children went to school, and they know that that's not right. And they were saying, "Oh, Mummy, I'm so sorry. I said, "It's all right. You go to bed now. Go to bed." And I just sat there crying. And I just had, after John died, I didn't tell anybody anything. I'd moved house. I didn't say anything. I got on with my job. I had to get on with my life. My sister was the same. She was living in London. It was the same thing. And I rang the Liverpool Echo. It's our paper, whatever your local paper is. I rang the Liverpool Echo the next day. And I said, "I'm John's sister, and I would like to give you a story." And they said, "How much do you want for it?" I said, "Nothing. Just, I want the story." And they were over in about 2 hours. Took the day off work. The fellow came over. I'm trying to think of his name. He was really, really lovely. The editor, in fact, came. And he said, would you come over and just talk into a mic like this and we'll get it transcribed? And I said, yeah. And that's what I did. I thought, well, the people in Liverpool will know how wrong it is, but I'll start here. I'll give it to the Echo. I could have sold it to a huge, huge paper, but I didn't. I just gave it to the Echo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
and that's
cool.
where it started.
And now, so you're going to have copies and you'll be at the merch.
So I wrote the book to set the story straight,
right.
essentially.
And you'll be able to get the book at the show.
Yeah, and it's called Imagine This, Growing Up with My Brother, John Lennon.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's no doubt about what the book is about.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you'll also be at the merch table.
Will do, yeah.
And can people get photos taken as well?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming back to Fort Wayne. All right.
Yeah.
This is your home base in the U.S.
It is. Yeah, no,
From home.
his house is our home base. We go in and just completely take it over.
All right. Well, that will do it.
Thank you.
Cool.